Hey guys, how's it going? Value Venture Investing here today. So, Air Canada just released their Q3 2021 earnings yesterday, and I was blown away. Wasn't expecting this quite so soon. We're going to see if there's a recovery that's going to be occurring here now. So, taking a look at the stock, today it's up about 3.87%, and yesterday I think it was about up 3 point something percent as well. Last 5 days we're looking at about 11.5%. So we're seeing this thing start to come back. So the question is, how good were these earnings? So today we're going to go through their earnings. I'm going to go into the brief overview, a little bit more detail when we go through the financial statements, and then I'm going to give you my opinion as well as some commentary on the conference call on what I think is going to happen with the stock, which is my personal opinion, and what I'm doing with my share. So starting here right away, passenger revenue was the huge thing here. It's up about 222% over last quarter. $1.636 billion. Last quarter we were only about 426 million. And in green here I have the comparable quarter in 2020, which was Q3 2020. We were about a little bit higher than last quarter, but $507 million. So this is the big top line number that translates into the total revenue that has just been showing that, and as they say, that they're in recovery mode now. Another thing that I've talked about a lot is the cargo revenue is up again, $366 million versus 358 last quarter, and then 216 in the comparable quarter a year ago. However, this is an all-time record. As you can see here, they have never generated, I go back to Q1 2020 here, they have never generated this much revenue, and they keep saying that this is going to be a driving force, and I believe it will be going forward when you think about all the packages delivered, stuff like that. So that's something to watch and something that might change the valuation of Air Canada to the better in the next couple of years. In terms of other revenue, 101 million, so that's even growing as well versus 53. So total revenue was $2.1 billion, a huge difference from $837 million last quarter. So their net income was a loss of $640 million. They're still in a loss mode here, but it's decreasing, and it's decreasing rapidly because last quarter we were about $1.16 billion. A year ago it was about the same almost as this quarter. So earnings per share was a loss of $1.79 versus $3.31. And actually, if you look at going back as far as I've been following this company and when I bought it here, again, this is the best EPS that they've ever had. Even compared to Q1 2020, they lost to $4 per share. So that just shows you how they're being so much more stringent with their costs, so much more stringent with their efficiencies. And if they can translate that going forward and also, grow the company as well, wow. Cash as well is sitting at an all-time high in terms of when we've been looking at it here, $8.7 billion. It was $5 billion last quarter, and the year ago was about $7.7 billion. So they've been really trying hard to be conservative, as they say. If you look at this over the years here as well, again, we're looking at the highest that we've seen. The next closest was Q2 2020 when it was $8.6 billion. Pretty close, but again, we're sitting in a very strong cash position right now. And the big thing that I kept always talking about before was the cash burn. And this time I've wrote it here, they generated about $153 million in cash flow. And that's amazing because they had a loss of $8 million a day. They had a loss of $9 million a day. And they were projecting, I think, that was going to be happening into the foreseeable future until the recovery occurred, and it seems like it's happened a little sooner, so that might be coming to an end completely here. So now let's take a look at their financial statements. Again, looking at their operational revenues here, guys. We went over these on the board. Passenger 1.6, cargo 366, another 101. So that gave us total revenues of $2.1 billion. Couple things here I want to note on the operating expenses here. Aircraft fuel, this should be pretty self-explanatory. 472 million versus 175. Of course, a lot of this increase, and they talked about this in the conference call, is because they are doing more flights, and we'll talk about that in a little bit here. But also, as we've seen, fuel prices has raised significantly, and so that has affected as well. So there's a lot of questions about are they going to hedge? Because of course airlines do a lot of hedging in their jet fuel, right? But because of a sort of a backwardation situation in the futures market. We won't get into that. They're saying it's not really optimal to do it at that time. So maybe that's something that you should definitely watch, because as inflation ensues and costs go up, this is going to obviously hurt the bottom line. Wages, salaries, and benefits, 592 million. Again, self-explanatory. They brought back a huge amount of employees, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So that's why that cost went up. Depreciation and amortization, that has actually dropped from 423 million to 400 million, and they're saying it's because they're retiring a lot of their old body fleets here, a lot of their old aircraft, and we're going to talk about that as well. But that is partially offset by the purchase of newer aircraft as well. So total operating expenses were 2.4 billion versus 1.5 billion last quarter. But again, keep in mind the reasons that that's up. So the operating loss was 364 million versus 785 million last quarter. So that brings us down to the net loss for the period of 640 million dollars versus 685 last quarter, and a diluted loss per share of $1.79 versus 2.31. So a good improvement there. Looking at the balance sheet here, guys, again, total cash, cash equivalents, and short-term investments was 8.7 billion versus 7.5 billion a quarter ago here, and you can take a look at how that's changed between their cash and their short-term investments. Total assets has also increased slightly from 28.9 billion to 30 billion dollars. And in terms of their liabilities, or long-term debt and lease liabilities, is up slightly. Again, you can review the note there, or if you want to know more about that, you can review my other video, so I'm not going to go into that too much, but just something to watch. The total liabilities went up slightly to 30 billion versus 27 billion. So overall, really great results. A couple things that were on the conference call here. 87% more capacity on a year-over-year basis, so you can see how people are starting to want to travel again. It seems like it's more in North America right now. People are a little bit more hesitant to go overseas. So that will make a change, but they're implementing a lot more routes and stuff like that. So over the next couple of quarters, I expect this to accelerate quite a bit more. They recalled 100,000 employees. So that shows you how those costs that I was talking about have went up. Again, they've also suspended, I think it's around 800 because they haven't had their shot. I'll let you use your common sense on that, whether you think it's right or wrong. I'm not going to talk about that on this channel, but that would be something I'd be concerned with going forward. They talked about not having any issues with recruiting. They don't think that's going to be an issue going forward, but it's something I would watch, especially as more and more people speak out about this. I don't think it will affect, like the airlines in the States that were canceling flights and stuff like that because of issues regarding that, but something to watch for sure. So the April deal with the government, of course, we talked about that in the last video. This $4 billion of funding, they have actually not drawn down on that, but they have drawn into a separate facility. And I don't quite understand what the separate facility is. So if you guys know what that is, please comment down below. Let me know if you know. Because it's a little ambiguous to me, but regardless, it's for the refunds, and they said that they paid like the majority of them or the most of them, but there still might be more coming. So keep that in mind, that even with these financials, they paid a ton, right? I mean, their debt has gone up and they've issued a little bit of shares and stuff like that, but a lot of that is behind us, so that's something to keep in mind as well. In terms of aircraft deliveries, 7 Boeing Max, well, Boeing in general, actually, sorry. 7 Boeing airplanes are going to be delivered, 3 of the Max. Of course, we had all these issues with the Max airplane and Boeing, and that seems to have rectified itself. So the Max is going to be by Q2 of 2022. That's 3 of them. And the remaining 3 are going to be 2022 and 2023. 2 Airbus delivered in 2024. And what's notable about this is that they originally said that they would not be taking these. Now, this could be taken 2 ways. Of course, it could be showed the strength and their confidence in the demand going forward. However, this deal with the government, I believe that they were told, other than doing refunds, that they had to actually honor some of these commitments on some of these planes, even the Airbus, because they were built in Quebec, I believe. So something to keep in mind. Those are going to be costs going forward and might affect depreciation and stuff like that. So all in all, this quarter is not what I expected. I didn't expect this kind of recovery this quick, to see a 222% increase in revenue, to see this cash position where it's at, to see EPS so much stronger than it's been since I've watched this company since I started investing. And I saw this as an opportunity for going to $40, $50 a share, and I still stand by that. I still think that it will reach that. The question is how long. Again, of course, that's just my opinion, but it's great to see these kinds of results. So I'd love to know what you guys think. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe guys, really helps the channel. Leave a comment down below, and that's going to be it for today, and I'll see you in the next one.